Today we're joined by Bill Long, a professional arborist and president of the Oklahoma Arborist Association. Well, Bill, I'm really looking forward to today's topic, talking about how we prepare our trees for winter. And I know you mentioned to me this is really a season-long process, but there's a few things we could do at this time of year as well, isn't that right?
Absolutely. You want to make sure the antifreeze is up to snuff. You want to make sure you've checked the battery. No, sorry. We're talking about trees today. Trees, sorry, yes. But make sure your car starts. We're talking about new trees today. This is a weeping redbud, which is a new tree to me.
We just planted this one this spring, so it hasn't been in the ground too long.
It is an excellent example of a newly established tree. And number one, you want to make sure it's mulched properly.
Okay.
Which
we don't have any mulch on here right now.
Looking closely, no, we do not have mulch.
No.
I like to use cypress mulch, but pine, hardwood, any kind of organic, natural product, not stone. Number two is watering. Make sure that it gets a drink. Even if it freezes, if you can predict, watch the weather. If a tree if the weather is going to turn to a freeze, a frost, water the tree, because the water filling the pore spaces of the soil can help insulate the tree's roots. Their tender roots, and also give it a drink. Number three is staking.
Yeah, and we have staked this one when we planted it, but there's a few tips about how to stake it properly and how long we want to leave that on.
Less is more. That is the rule I follow.
Okay.
Meaning you want this system to fail because you want the tree to flex in the wind, just like you'd exercise your muscles. You want this tree to flex so that the trunk gets stronger in the flexing.
Okay. And when we're talking about staking, how do we know when it's been staked long enough and it's okay to go ahead and remove the stake system?
Number one, when the root, when you shake the trunk in the ground and it doesn't move, and number two, that it doesn't fall over.
Okay, and we could see, when I shake this, I could see the soil still moving. So we need to keep our stake system up longer.
That's correct. And this stake, this bamboo pole, is serving a purpose in keeping this very erect.
Keeping it upright.
This is keeping it from falling on the ground.
Okay.
I like to use biodegradable products.
Okay.
Things like just an old t-shirt. The wind, the rain, the weather is going to degrade the material, plus things like the plastic here will dig into the tree. That's bad. It'll girdle it. It could kill it from that point up.
So we want something that's going to break and come off naturally.
My system forces you to check the tree.
Absolutely. Make sure that it's still functioning
That's
properly.
correct. You don't want industrial grade staking material, because you want to go check the tree.
Now the same is true about wrapping the trunk. When do we want to wrap trunks and when is it not necessary?
In the wintertime, it's called, I call it southwest injury, that if you have a very, very cold day, say below 20 degrees, the sun comes out like it is today, the south side of the tree will get warmer than the north side, thus cracking the bark on a thin bark tree. A thin bark tree, like a redbud, like maples.
I see it on maples.
Maples a lot, maybe because there's a lot of maples planted. Pears would be another example.
And this is another case where we want to use a material that's going to degrade over time.
You want it to fail because you want to go check the tree. How many trees have I seen that have been girdled to death, literally to death, hugged to death, by a piece of plastic, by a wire, by the wire through the water hose, and people left it on for years and years and years. It's grown into the tree, or the tree's grown around it, and killed the tree. And so you want to have a system that fails, that makes you every few months, and you should take this off in March, and if you have to, put it on in in September
Okay.
for the wintertime, a biodegradable wrap, something like a brown paper bag.
Okay. Now, we've been talking about how to protect young trees, but there's some other things we want to consider with our mature trees. Why don't we go take a look at some of those?
Okay. All right.
Now, Bill, when we look at mature trees and protecting them, some of the same concepts apply. We want to make sure they're watered in the winter time and mulched, but we have a few other considerations as well, right?
Absolutely.
I thought we could start at the ground up and work our way up.
Okay.
So what are some of the things we want to look for around the base of the tree?
You want to make sure that the mulch, the soil first, and then the mulch is not too high up on the trunk. You want to see a flare, a root flare, trunk flare.
And that's where the trunk starts to
where it
curve
comes out,
outwards.
comes out of the ground. If the soil was up to here, you would not see a root flare, meaning that it's planted way too deep, or it's been filled in. Maybe the most common thing is building a flower bed around the big tree, and the root flare is covered. And
up.
you also want to pull the mulch away from the trunk so that a site of infection doesn't occur right there.
Yeah, a lot of times we see that mulch piled up high, and it's important to keep it away. We describe it like a donut around
Correct.
with
Just
a little hole.
finger width. Just get close and personal, and pull the mulch away. People don't use enough mulch, but just don't let it touch the trunk.
I think sometimes people are concerned if the soil is up high, they're concerned about pulling it away and maybe weakening the tree. Is that a concern at all?
The opposite is the case.
Right.
The closer or the higher up the soil is on the tree, the weaker you're creating a site of infection.
So it's okay to go ahead and pull that soil back.
Correct.
Sometimes we see the soil wash out as well, maybe if there's erosion.
Yes, you want to make sure all your roots are covered. Obviously, a big tree, as the roots, a young tree can put a root near the surface of the ground, and as it expands and gets larger, it will come above the surface, thus creating a tripping hazard, or the mowers damaging the tree or damaging the mower. Cover the soil, the roots with soil, and mulch in appropriate areas. This is a mulch bed, so make sure you have lots of mulch. I would say at least 3 inches. I tend to say more than 3 inches because people don't put enough. Plus it settles.
Visually see it. Okay. The leaves, of course, are falling off the tree right now, and that's another thing we want to pay attention to.
Absolutely.
Cleaning up our leaf litter.
Well, clean it up if they're diseased.
Correct.
If you can stand to leave them on the ground, it's better.
Okay.
That's what happens in the forest. You want to create a natural environment for the tree because that's what trees are designed for. They're not designed for turf. They're not designed for a manicured flower bed. This is a flower bed, but I wouldn't say it's manicured.
Right.
It has lots of leaf litter. It has mulch.
Somewhat
it has plants.
natural.
Natural would be a good term for it.
Well, as we look up into the tree, there's some different concerns and considerations, and one of those is the dead wood.
Absolutely. Dead wood is the primary reason to prune a tree. Your pruning goals are dead wood first, then stubs, broken branches, rubbing branches,
Correct.
Mistletoe, especially this time of year and here in the winter when the leaves fall out of elms, river birch, etc., hackberries. You can see the mistletoe better. When you're pruning, look for clearance. You want probably 6 to 10 feet of clearance for buildings, fences, dog houses, greenhouses, pools.
Maybe where you park your car, you don't want to cause any
over the
hazards.
driveway, near the stop signs. How many stop signs you see are covered up with limbs, or just the line of sight is blocked.
Those are all really good considerations.
Disease. We were talking about the pear.
Right.
Prune the fire blight infested areas out of the pear. Make sure that you prune 12 inches below the site of visible infection.
Okay.
Meaning that the disease is inside the tree, but you don't see it on the outside. So you have to prune there, plus you have to sterilize each cut.
Well, this time of year, of course, we also want to be preparing for the inevitable ice storms that are coming up. What are some of the things that we might do for that?
Well, pruning, again, very important preventative measure for preventing ice damage. Number 2 is cabling, which is My technique is using steel cabling. There's other methods, other products that,
Okay.
that are on the market that are just as viable. It's just that I'm used to the steel.
And what is the benefit of cabling? What's that going to provide for the
No,
tree?
it protects the forks from splitting,
Okay.
and also bolting, meaning at the fork
Where they come together.
you put a bolt in, hopefully above the airspace where it opens up, not below the airspace. The cable holds up the weight, and there's also bracing. Bracing, there's three: cabling, bolting, and bracing. Cabling is the steel cable in the upper canopy of the tree. Bolt is at the fork, and bracing would be from the ground to the limb.
Okay.
You'll see that a lot on live oaks, low-growing large trees. Not so much with our trees because they're usually more vertical.
We saw a lot of that when we were in Japan. It was very decorative
yes,
there
and
as
in
well.
Europe and in San Antonio, around the Alamo, there's live oaks with steel post braces. And so those are three methods. Also in Beaumont, Texas, there's a lot of bracing, and because of the live oaks. But prevention is your first goal. Repair is the second. If you have a split tree from the ice, you can bring it back together if it's not too large a tree.
Using some of these same techniques.
Correct.
Okay.
And bolt it and cable it.
Okay.
And prune it to lighten the weight.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much for sharing some of these winter
Absolutely.
preparation tips with us, Bill.
I'm glad to be here.